Right, so we started doing these meetups a couple of years ago, and they started very ad hoc. They were very, well, we were meeting in a pub, basically. A couple of you were probably there at the start. And it was just really a way to kind of connect with people. And then they got a bit more formal, and we started inviting some, Google and Booking.com, Visit Scotland, so we get to give presentations. But we'd never actually done anything ourselves. So we thought, well, Kelly thought it'd be a good idea if I could stand up and say something about what we do, which a big part of it is trying to drive direct bookings to your own website using our skills and Bookster. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about what direct bookings are. So that'll be the very obvious parts, really. And then Lyle's going to have a chat about websites. He's our head designer, so he'll have a chat about how to build websites that might attract direct bookings. And then I'll round up at the end. So, and if you've got any questions, then save them up till the end. That's probably the best plan. So yeah, who are we? We're Bookster. We're started and based in Edinburgh. We're quite a small company, but we've got we're all about holiday rentals. We've got we deal with bookings and promoting properties, taking payments, everything to do with holiday rentals. That's pretty much us. So yes, so direct bookings. What? Hey! Knew that would happen. Perfect. So what I think, basically, a direct booking is any booking that doesn't come through a big channel like Booking.com or Airbnb or something. So it comes through your website, someone sends you an email, someone phones you. It's basically anything that you essentially don't pay commission on. So yes, they're usually commission-free bookings. Now, commission-free bookings don't necessarily mean there wasn't a cost to get them. So the cost to get a direct booking is the cost of acquisition, which you're hoping will be cheaper than going through a big OTA or online travel agency like Booking.com. But the costs are things like building your own website, paying for advertising, paying for pay-per-click, paying for organic search, trying to promote your website. Those are the costs of getting a direct booking. And the aim really is to make that cost lower than whatever percentage it is that you will pay to Booking.com or whoever it happens to be. Because essentially, if you don't get any direct bookings, all you're doing is outsourcing all of your marketing, which is fine, but that's really what you're doing. So yes. So why would you do it? Why would you want to get direct bookings? Well, one of the principal reasons is that if they come direct to you, then they are your customer. They're aware of your brand. You have their contact details. You control all of the guest experience through the booking process. And that will make it much easier to retain them or get them to book again, to market to them again. And it will also mean that the OTA, which might have got your booking, so the Airbnb or Booking.com, they're not marketing to them. They've only come directly to you. So there's loads of good reasons to get direct bookings. So the value of a direct booking is more than the value of a channel booking, OTA booking. So, excuse me. What are the tools that can help you drive these direct bookings? A very important one is email marketing. So our clients might use email marketing to send sort of automated emails. So if they take a booking, then you might send an email out 7 days after they depart to say, thanks for your stay, would you like to leave a review? Or you might send it out a year later, at the exact same time they booked previously, to say, oh, are you thinking of coming back to the area? Have you thought about these things? Or you might send an email that contains a discount code or something that they might pass on to their friends. But it's a way of keeping your brand visible, and you can send automated emails, or you can email en masse. You can send newsletters. If you've got a blog, you might keep people up to date with the blog. Of course, if you're direct marketing like that, you do need to get their permission to do it. So that's something to be aware of. But if it's related to a booking, then you can send them emails about the booking and things relating to the booking. So you don't necessarily need like marketing permission to be saying, we're looking forward to you to coming. Here's some things you might want to do. And all that time you're getting brand recognition. They're aware that actually you exist as a company, not where they maybe originally booked from. And next time they might book directly with you. So next one, promotion codes. So using a system like Bookster to create promotion codes that give people discounts, gives them incentive to book with you again rather than somewhere else. It's things that they might well share with their friends and family, so it'll give you broader reach of marketing. So promotion codes can be a great way to drive direct bookings. I know that some of our clients, they leave things in the apartments with promotion codes on them. So they'll leave a little, like a business card or a little leaflet saying, thank you so much for booking with us. Here's a promotion code for 5% or 10% off your next stay. Feel free to share it with your friends and family, with obviously your web address on there as well. So this is kind of counterintuitive in a way, but you can use channel managers or the settings within your channel manager. So what a channel manager is, if you may or may not know. So channel manager is a way to distribute onto Booking.com, Airbnb, Visit Scotland, TripAdvisor. Keep all your rates synced up, keep all your photos synced up, availability, so you don't get any double bookings. When you get to a certain size, you really are wanting to start to use a channel manager. But there are settings within channel managers that can help you be more competitive than the channels. So you can increase the prices, for example. So you can have, you can be cheaper on your own website. So that if people do search for your property, they might search for the property name. So they might find it on Booking.com, My Great Holiday Rental. They might copy it, paste it into Google to see if they can find it cheaper elsewhere. And then they might find your website and book direct with you. Other things that channel managers can do, for example, is block out peak dates. So you can go in and say, actually, say, for example, half of August or whatever, I know I'm going to be able to sell those dates elsewhere. So I'm going to block them off so that, Airbnb or whoever it happens to be, they cannot, steal my premium dates. And I know I'll fill those anyway, so I'm just going to do that. So the other thing is SEO, is driving organic traffic. So taking advice from experts in that area or in the industry, what kind of keywords you should be having on your website, getting backlinks to your website, building up the profile of your website within Google so you can start to get more and more direct organic traffic onto your site. If you simply build your site, then, not necessarily anyone going to turn up. So, taking advice on SEO, which is search engine optimization. So, driving a bit more traffic that way. Obviously, a primary tool to do all this is your website itself. So, having a website, and Lyle is going to step in a minute and talk about all of this, but having a website that is very specific to your industry that can allow people to easily book is critical. If they arrive on your website and they don't really know what to do, or it's not very clear what you are selling, then they might have found you in Google, or they might have found your web address, or found your, you put your email address or your web address onto the leaflet, whatever. But when they go to, if it's not really clear what they're supposed to do, then they might just bounce off and go to their favorite, booking engine. So yeah, Bookster has template websites and more customizable websites. But yeah, Lyle is going to come up and talk about how to optimize your website, or what kind of things you need to do on your website to get bookings.
Yeah, so as Robin said, I'm Lyle. I'm the sort of design lead at Bookster. I've been with the company for about just a little over 5 years. And one of my main jobs, one of the things I do often is design and build websites for our clients. So I think through that, I have some insights that I can share with you that are valuable. So yeah, I'll just get started here. So a little bit of a kind of, I suppose, a word to get started that I think that oftentimes we measure a website by its conversion. But maybe we don't always set out to do that. And what I mean by conversion is the number of traffic versus the number of transactions. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that a holiday rental website really should be a transaction tool, not just a brochure. So people can go there, they can search for dates, they can find a product they want to purchase, and they can make a purchase. I think that's what we should do. So it's not just about, it's about being booked. So I'll take you through some certain sections, but really these are some of the key thoughts that I want you to take away from this. You know, be focused, be especially user focused, and ultimately users turn into guests, so be guest focused on your website. So, you know, make it obvious what you want your users to do. So have a key proposition, something they can understand. So when they arrive on the site, especially you've got that first 6.5 seconds where they make all the judgments that they'll make about your business, and it happens really fast. So you want to make sure, like above the page fold, where it's visible, that you're outlining your business, who you are, what you offer, and what's unique about your business too. Leading on from that, having a strong call to action. You know, we see it on these websites like booking.com, especially these big buttons, book now, colors, contrast. It's all about a call to action. It's all about guiding a user to do something. So it's worth thinking about that on your website too, and not just on your home page. Think about that on all the pages. I just alluded to booking.com. One thing as a smaller business you have to do is recognize that you don't have the marketing budget to spend billions making your brand awareness a global thing. You know, we can't do that. We can't compete with Airbnb and booking.com in that way. So when people arrive on your site, you know, communicate trust by having logos of associations you belong to. You know, if you're part of a committee, a local committee or a council, put that on there. Put the logo on there. Make it visual. You know, refer to it, and your users will find that. And I think it's actually worth doing that on every page, like putting that in the footer of your site. A lot of our client sites, we design that into the footer, so it's just constantly confirming that trust. The next thing to do is make sure that your site is accessible. So this is really about making sure users who are young and old can use the site easily. So it's the simple stuff. It's having contrast with your typography, so making sure your text is really sharp and readable, that it's a large enough font size, that the colors you use have enough contrast. It's the simple sort of stuff that I think sometimes gets lost in the design process, but it's really important. Knocking on from that, making sure your website is device friendly. So we've found that a lot of our clients get more than 50% of their traffic through mobile devices or tablets. So making sure that your website works and works as well in those environments is really important. And part of that is speed. So if you can increase the speed of your website, that means the users can get to your website, things load up faster, they can engage with it faster, and a knock on from that is Google will reward you, increase your search index. So that's a good thing to keep in mind as well. The next thing I would say is try to be visual. I think this comes a little more naturally to all of us. We all have an idea of what we want, or if we don't, we find something that we like and we go, yeah, I can see that. I like the way that looks. I like the way that feels. And that's great. I think the next step from there is to simplify that, to try to understand how that visual quality works with the task you're trying to get a user to do. So we often find with our clients that they'll add to their website and then declutter their website. Add to their website and declutter it. And there's this constant push and pull to try to simplify and narrow down the path for the user. Because ultimately that's what it's about. Again, it's about a transaction. So if we're distracting a user with a load of information or a load of images that aren't relevant to them, it's actually doing damage to that. So we just need to always have that balance. So try to simplify it. We alluded to this before, but you know, having it branded as well, which is more than just your logo. It's about your colors, your fonts, and all the way through from when the user arrives on the website to where they book finally. Try to make that as coherent as possible. And this one, I'm sure I'm sure you all know this, but photos are so important. Like with what we do, we're not just selling our inventory, we're not just selling the properties we have, we're selling the whole experience. You're selling, in many cases, you're selling Edinburgh. You know, it's a beautiful city. And so you can invest in that, and it's a really worthwhile investment. If you know a professional photographer, it's worth getting them to have a look and have a go at doing some photos for you. I know many of you have done that. There's another kind of myth, I suppose, which Kevin Costner didn't help, but just because you build it doesn't mean they'll come. In fact, they likely won't. And this may not have been true 15, 20 years ago, I'm not sure. But now it's so competitive, you know. So many websites are trying to index for the same keywords, the same search terms. So just by building a website doesn't mean you're going to be found. So it's really important to think, you know, how am I going to get traffic to my website? And this is especially important for when you're launching a new website. But, you know, how are you going to get users there in the first place? It's great. It's all well and good that we've focused a lot on conversion, that we know what they're going to do, but if they're not arriving there in the first place, it's falling short. So what I would start doing is looking for backlinks. I'm not sure if, does everyone know what a backlink is? I'm kind of aware that I'm probably throwing a lot of jargon at you. But a backlink is a link from another website that links back to yours. Backlink. And ideally, you want a backlink from a website that has a lot of domain authority, so a website that Google recognizes as an authority in a subject. So Edinburgh University would be a good example. You know, if you can get a backlink from something like that, it will really help increase the index of your site. And Google will go, oh, there's a link from this website, so that means that website's likely also worthwhile featuring.
How do you get backlinks?
That's a good question. Yeah. And I think that's where you have to be creative, you know, as much as possible. Try to talk to people, try to meet people, try to, you know, network. And if you can be associated with something like that, that's great. But it can be a hard thing, obviously, to accomplish. The next thing I would say is just have a strategy with your content. It's really good to write blog posts and add content to your website. But you really want to think about the content you're writing as far as the keywords you're trying to score against, the words people are searching. You want your website to rank well against those keywords. And that's a whole discipline of its own, and there are plenty of tools out there to help you do that, which we can certainly talk about at the end of this. But just have a strategy with your content, and especially try to keep users within your website. So I think there can be a temptation with blog posts, especially we see it every year with Edinburgh Festival. People write posts and they have a dozen links away from their website in that post. And what can happen is you've spent all this effort getting a user to your website. They've found this blog post, and now that you've given them a million reasons to leave again. And so it can be quite damaging, but it's also quite tempting to do that, but it's just to be aware. It's better to have users click through your website than leave your website to find something else. The third option is pay-per-click, and some of you might know what this is, but this is paid advertising. So it's turning over to Google or to Facebook, or there's many others really, and paying for users to arrive at your site, and you can set that up to work on specific keywords and things. But it's always an option. It can be expensive, but you can also manage it, and you can set caps on how much you want to spend and do that sort of thing. So it's always an option. This is more for when you've launched your site, but just think about it as a measurable thing. So your website is something that you can measure the performance of, and you really want to. So think about sort of key metrics that you might want to measure. So I mentioned it already, the conversion rate. So that's how many users arrive versus how many book. The traffic sources. So how do people arrive on your site? Is that through organic search, or is that through paid traffic? Also the bounce rate. So how many people arrive versus how many leave? Some of these things are great to be aware of. And Google Analytics is free. I'm sure you've all heard of it, and it's potentially an overwhelming thing to get started with. But it really is a great tool for understanding how your website's performing. There's tools as well that just monitor the health of your website. So they sort of crawl your site and look for bugs and inform you of that. And another free one is Google Search Console, which we set up for all of our clients as a default practice, just to make sure there's a second layer of protection, and it's great. It's a great tool. I've touched on this already, but think about your keywords. You know, not just now, but think about them in the future. Think how they might change and what keywords are really competitive and what keywords aren't. And again, there are lots of tools to help you with this, and Kelly especially is an expert in it. So, you know, if you're really looking for a kind of a deep thread on that one, feel free to grab Kelly afterward. So now you've got your website up. You've done loads of changes to it. It's getting better. You're getting traffic. You know, you're measuring that. Now keep improving. That's what it is. It's testing and revising based on the data that you collect. So we use this term benchmark, but this is about trying to understand where your performance was this year versus where it was last year versus where it was the year before. And if you can start to build a picture of where you're at, where you're succeeding, it can help you make really intelligent decisions. It's just like a business. We encourage our clients to run A/B split tests as often as possible. And this is where you sort of you have two versions, if you can imagine it, like two versions of your website. And they have some minor changes in them. Maybe there's a change of a color, a button of the color of a button, or the words you use on a call to action. And you can send half the traffic to one variation, half the traffic to the other, and see which one performs best. So if you're always running these small changes, they don't have to be big, but small, you can really increase the effectiveness of your website. And there are lots of tools we use for this. There's Visual Website Optimizer, and there's Optimizely, and there's Hotjar, and there's loads. And they are paid services, but worth thinking about. Another paid service would be user testing. This is really great, especially that 6.5-second window, you know, when the user first arrives on your site. What user testing does will record a video. The user will speak into their microphone, tell you what they're thinking, tell you what they're doing, tell you what they're trying to do. That can be extremely insightful if you're wondering why your website isn't performing the way you want it to. So and in fact, usertesting.com I think just opened an office at Edinburgh, so you can go and actually speak to a real person about that. So yeah. So I realize I've covered a lot here. If you have any questions, please grab me afterward or shout them out at the end, and I'll try to answer them. But hopefully that was helpful, and I'll just pass it back to Robin.
Well done. Thank you. Yeah, I suppose one thing for a lot of the things that Lyle covered there, we wouldn't necessarily expect even our clients to be doing all of those things. They might be doing some of the individual things, or doing a bit of user testing at one point, doing some A/B testing, etc. There's a lot there, and it just depends on the scale of your business, so as to which tool is appropriate or cost effective, etc. So some of them are really cheap to do, or easy to do. Some of them are much more expensive. But yeah, covered a lot there. So I suppose what else can Bookster do? So yeah. Specifically, what are we all about? So we're all about holiday rentals. We take payments for you, so whether that's usually through Stripe or PayPal or WorldPay. So we have mechanisms to take payments and to automate those payments. So whether it comes through a channel or OTA, or whether they book straight through your website, we'll request the balance. We can request damage deposits, that kind of thing. We allow you to share your availability either through the channel manager itself or through just iCal, which is sort of just purely availability sharing. So publishing your availability or reading in your availability from something like Airbnb to just stop double bookings, basically. There's the channel manager itself, so we directly connect to Booking.com. We're connecting now to TripAdvisor, Visit Scotland. We also have a connection to something called Rentals United, and they are themselves a channel manager that goes out to, another 50 or 60 channels. Then, we've got reviews. We can either, we've got a connection to FIFO, which is kind of a reviews service, or you can put your TripAdvisor reviews on your website, or you can encourage reviews through the email marketing system. We do have a sort of service for some of our larger clients that they can actually become a channel themselves. So if they cover a particular geographical area, or if they're of a high enough quality, and they want to do it, then we can allow our other Bookster clients to list on their Bookster website. So they essentially can request to join. So they can basically start bulking up the properties that are on their site. It makes it, it'll increase your conversion. It'll just make it, a bit more attractive for people to book, and you can make some commission revenue that way as well. We have a guest area for guests when they book. They can see all sorts of information about their booking, arrival, codes, Wi-Fi codes, how to get there, all that kind of stuff. Team logins. If you've got multiple people working in your business, then different levels of login. We can give them all different levels of login. Cleaners, or just owners, if they want owners to log in, etc. Owner statements as well. If you're looking to automate that side of your business, we've got facilities for that. So if you're wanting to show your owners how much commission that you've been charged and generate an invoice and all that kind of stuff. So we're working on that. And yeah, that yield management, all sorts of things. And we've got plans ahead. We've got a new look console on the way. We've got that in beta. It'll be launching very soon, next couple of weeks. Of course, if I say that, it'll be like 2 months away or something. Got new channels. We're always working on new channels. Just got TripAdvisor, as I say. More coming. So those are direct channels, ones that you can connect to directly from Bookster. And we're always trying to make things better, trying to improve the tools that we have. Whether that be in the owner statements or whatever, we're trying to make things better, and obviously feedback from our clients. So I think recently we allowed people to automatically put an extra from, if they define an extra and the guest selects it, and then goes into the preparation notes. So somebody here requested that, so that's live now. So yeah, so we've got all sorts of things on the way, and that's us really. So thank you. So does anyone have any questions for myself or